Hey everyone, Jexie here. Welcome back to another video. So today I thought we'd discuss a little bit about how recovery is a process. I think a lot of times we associate, getting off drugs as being like you're either on drugs or you're off drugs. And recovery doesn't quite work that way. Recovery is about taking each step, each day is something new and we learn and we grow and we become something better than we were the day before. So I thought I'd kind of discuss how that process works and how it's worked for me. So, for most people, when you just get into recovery, it sucks. Like, there's no good way to put it. Although we may start feeling better, just the idea that we're off drugs and we may be on what they call like a pink cloud of the gratitude of not waking up every day needing to find drugs and using can put us in a place where we feel extremely grateful. But the beginning of recovery is still really hard. For most people, we wake up every day and we still want to use. We still think about drugs throughout the day, and a lot of times we're still feeling really sick. Depending on what your drug of choice was, depends on how long it'll take until you physically feel better. But for some drugs like opiates, the recovery time can be really long. And there's something about, for me, feeling that dragging feeling, like the no energy, no motivation, that really was frustrating. And it causes a lot of people to go back out and use. The physical, like, sickness can be done with, but that feeling of how am I supposed to get up every day and do life can be really overwhelming. You also see a lot of people in early recovery, like, jump to caffeine drinks. They'll be drinking energy drinks all day long. And for a lot of us, it's just because we're trying to get that feeling of being able to get through the day. It seems crazy for people who don't take drugs that like getting off drugs makes you feel worse. You'd think that once you got off drugs, you'd automatically feel better. That's not really the case. Drugs that like chemically change the way our brains and bodies work. So it takes our bodies and brains time to heal once we get off drugs. So it can take a while. And that part of recovery I would say is probably the hardest, and I think most addicts would agree, like that period of time after you've gotten over the initial like withdrawal, whatever your drug was, and then like trying to gain energy back to get through the day. Like I think that can be like incredibly difficult, and for me it was frustrating. I didn't want to feel like I was lagging ass. I didn't want to have a hard time getting out of bed. I wanted to be able to just do life normal without being on drugs. And that was easier said than done. Even today, with, 6.5 years clean, there are still some days that I struggle. I've done videos on it before. I'll put one wherever the boxes are. I get confused when it's filming. But I did a video on dealing with no motivation in recovery. Like, some days, like, I wake up and I'm like, how am I going to possibly get out of bed and do the day? I may have a whole long list of things to do, and sometimes I get one thing done and then I feel like I'm failing. So I have to remember to keep it in the today. Not give myself unrealistic expectations. If I'm having a day where I feel off or something's not quite jiving and I don't have the energy I normally do, then I need to make sure that I'm not setting myself up for failure by giving myself an unrealistic to-do list. Sometimes just having one thing on my list is all I can manage, and that's okay. We need to be realistic about how we're feeling and where we're at, and know that just because we may not feel great today doesn't mean like tomorrow's not going to be a wonderful day. Emotionally, there's a ton of ups and downs in recovery. Most recovery programs suggest that you stay out of new relationships within your first year of recovery, and there's a reason for that. When we're getting off drugs, we're immediately looking for something to fill that void. We feel like we're missing something, and sometimes a relationship, whether it be like a boyfriend girlfriend or even just a sexual relationship, people feel like they're automatically like they have something else to latch onto, and that can be dangerous for people in early recovery, because if one person doesn't do well and ends up relapsing, the other person usually relapses right behind them. And so relationships in recovery, although most people understand why they're so desirable at the beginning, they're not really the best solution to the problem. And that's one of the reasons I really like recovery programs, is they help us find solutions to the actual feelings of recovery and keep us in a place that's safe. if we can't have relationships, if I can't junk myself up on caffeine to get through the day, if I have all these new emotions that I've never dealt with before, what the heck do I do? How do I manage life? I don't know. And by getting involved in a recovery program with people who know, with other addicts who've been there, you have guidance. I mean, people tell you with anything, like having a mentor in anything is always a good idea. Somebody who's been through the process who can help you along. You see them in colleges and university, in jobs, you have internships, and there's a reason why you do that, right? So in recovery, learning the recovery process, it's always super helpful to have other people, whether you had one person or 10 people, who have been through that process already and can help you through it. My biggest suggestion is listen to other people's suggestions. Find somebody whose story is similar to yours. Find somebody that you jive with. Find somebody that you feel like you can open up and trust, and do what they tell you to do. If they tell you not to do this or to do that, just listen, even if it sounds crazy, because sometimes those people, if you jive with them well and you can relate, then they know how you're feeling, and they can help you based on their own mistakes. Nobody's recovery process is perfect, and we all make mistakes. We all do things we're not supposed to do in recovery and look back and say, man, I wish I didn't do that. The final thing I would say is a huge part of the recovery process is having fun. Life doesn't have to suck. And sometimes in recovery, that's what it feels like. We feel very down. We feel, nothing's going to get better. How are we ever going to get through this? But by understanding that, like, you're allowed to have fun, you're allowed to smile, and maybe you don't feel like it right now, it doesn't mean you won't. I always believed when I first got into recovery that it was going to be impossible for me to smile again. At the beginning of my recovery, I didn't think I would ever smile or laugh again. I truly believed that even though I was off drugs, I was just going to be miserable for life. I thought that's just how it was going to be. And I remember 6 months in going to a convention and laughing the whole weekend and thinking, like, it is possible to be happy. And I'm telling you, even if you don't believe it right now, you can be happy in recovery again. It can happen. Don't give up on it. Anything's possible. So look, leave a comment down below. In your recovery right now, what's the one thing you're struggling with the most? What do you think has been the hardest part of recovery for you? Living just for today, living in the moment and worrying about what we can right now is not always easy, but we can do it. That's why we need each other. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I want to thank you to my patrons. I can't believe I actually can say that now. That's insane to me. I really appreciate all the support you guys show my channel, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for trivia. So have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.